telling somebody about my time here in Barcelona, and I was giving them a really crispy, clean Christian answer. It's been so hard in a lot of ways, but I know that God is growing me and He's making me more like the woman that He wants me to be. Leaving that conversation and walking home, I was so frustrated because as much as all of that really is true about my time here in Barcelona, it hasn't felt true. So many times I've been struggling with stuff and I haven't felt like God was doing anything through it. I just felt like garbage. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love being in Barcelona. I am so thankful to be here, genuinely, but just separately, being in Barcelona has been really hard for me in my heart, in my mind. Like, loneliness has been a big thing for me, even just struggling with depression. I feel like I've had issues in my heart and my emotions that have come up since being here that I have never experienced before, and I never thought I would. So there's all of that I've been going through at the same time as, like, I really genuinely love this place. And if you're watching and you're from Barcelona, thanks for having me, because I know I'm in your home and it's so beautiful and I'm so thankful to be here. But anyway, back to the story. I just hated that I said that, because it just felt so incomplete. Because what I feel when I'm struggling, it just, like, it sucks. It's worse than that, but you know, YouTube, you don't get my bad language. My bad language stays here. So then that night, I come back here and Eloise is going through another night of sleep training. She's almost 2 years old and we'll go through, like, yeah, she's sleeping so well. And then a week later, she's waking up again in the night. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, she would wake up in the middle of the night demanding eggs or chili. That was Sean's fault a little bit, because those are the things he was feeding her. But anyway, so we've been doing this sleep training thing. We make sure that she's not sick or in danger or hungry or poopy or whatever. We make sure she's okay. And then ultimately, when it's time for her to sleep, even if she doesn't like it, even if she screams her head off, we close the door, we tell her we love her, and we just let her cry. Now, what Eloise doesn't know is that while that's happening, Sean and I are going crazy. We're on the other side of the door, we're praying, Sean's watching skate videos, trying to be distracted. I'm texting friends, I'm scrolling through Instagram, even though I had already scrolled through it. I'm like re-liking photos just so I can be distracted from my little baby's crying, because all I want to do is go back in there and be like, you're okay, everything's okay, mommy's right here. As I was thinking about this that night, as I'm letting Eloise cry and we are both hating it so much, I was kind of getting this revelation of, like, I wonder if that's the picture or a picture of what God feels like when He allows us to go through times of struggle. I'm on the other side of Eloise's door. She's in her room, it's dark. She's alone. So what it must feel like for her is just sad, and she's mad. She doesn't want to be sleeping. And what I was thinking about was, like, oh, I hope she remembers how much I loved her in the daytime. Like, I hope she remembers how we drew balloons and how I took her to the park and how we had so much fun and how Daddy played with her. Like, I really hope she remembers how much I love her, so that this moment in the dark alone doesn't hurt so bad. And as I'm thinking that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably why all throughout scripture, God is saying, remember what I did. Like, back in the Old Testament, He's telling His people, whenever He does a miracle, He's like, remember what I did, write it down, tell your families, tell your grandkids, build something to remember what I did, because He knows we're so prone to forget the way He takes care of us. There's one story in the New Testament where God multiplies fish and bread and feeds thousands of people with, like, nothing. I think it's like with one kid's lunch, He feeds thousands of people. Then one chapter later, the same disciples who just saw this thing happen, are looking around at thousands of people again who are hungry, and they're like, Jesus, how are you gonna feed them? Like, should we send them away? And as a reader, you're like, are you kidding? God just did this crazy thing. Just tell Him to do it again, or, like, expect Him to do it again. At least don't stress about it. But that exact thing happens in my life all the time, where God does something and completely blows my mind with how faithful and kind and good and generous He is. And then the very next day, I experience something new or something scary or something that's just stressful, and I'm like, where's God? He left me alone. Does He even love me? Is He even real? What am I doing with this life? You know, I mean, I'm a bit more dramatic than your average Christian, maybe you guys do a better job at this, but you know, the disciples didn't, so I comfort myself with that. But anyway, so I'm just thinking, like, here I am in Barcelona going through sometimes just like really horrible moments, and I wonder if God's like on the other side of my door, you know, if I'm thinking like Eloise in sleep training. And He's just like, Jessica, remember the way I love you. Remember my character. Remember the last 10 years and how I set you free from bulimia and how I saved your little sister's life and how I've been healing your family. Like, remember all of these things so that when you're feeling so sad and so alone, you know that it's not for nothing. It's for something. And just like I am not making Eloise cry it out in her room just so she can cry. I'm doing it because I want her to experience the gift that will come when she figures out how awesome it is to sleep through the night and how awesome it is to have a mom who is well rested and so cute and ready to go. That's a good gift. And so, yeah, so the Lord, if He's gonna bring me or you or any of us through something really dark and scary, there's gonna be a gift on the other side of it. And sometimes that gift is simply eternity with Him. Sometimes that gift isn't something we get here on earth. It's something we'll receive the moment we take our last breath here and our first breath in heaven. And we're like, whoa, this place is awesome. So guys, that's the encouragement. Know that just like Shaun and I are outside Eloise's door praying for her and loving her and like, going crazy, even though she doesn't know because she's on the other side in the dark, know that that's just a little tiny glimpse of what heaven's doing for you. Heaven is fighting for you and cheering you on. It says Jesus is interceding for you. You are not alone. That's all. Okay, I hope that you have a really great day. Thanks so much for following my channel. I will see you really soon. Okay, bye.
Good job, sweetheart. What do you want, honey?
Salt.
Salt? Okay, you can put some salt on.